You can go to live in France, but you cannot become a Frenchman. You can go to live in Germany or Turkey or Japan, but you cannot become a German, a Turk, or Japanese. But anyone from any corner of the earth can come to live in America and become an American.
太冷了，受不了。现在才6点钟了，还要熬10几个小时。
是，在中国现在混得下去，真的。对啊，混得下去谁还不知道？
他是说做核酸就做核酸了，不让你开门就是不让你开门了。
房子没有了，车子也没有了，然后一身的负债。
实话说，就是说，我们就是跟风，也是在外网看的，就是移民潮嘛，就是很多这个走这条线儿的。
Sir, that's it right there. We're just gonna take family right now. Ustedes para atrás, por favor. Es todo que vamos a quedar por ahorita, okay? You guys speak English? No English? Okay. I got it. ¿Es tu mamá y ella? No. Okay, usted tiene 2 niños, ¿no? Okay, aquí, señora, cuidado. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Okay, 5. 6, 7, 8. The last bags we got 5, 7 inside now.
你找个东西坐这边。
我还以为你走的嘞。
我还说你走了呢，我还挺开心的。
那个怀孕的是不是走了？他走了，他打会走。
估计是明天早上。
我都没挤过去。
你觉得今年走的人特别多吗？
没错，我们今年那个县城人都空了。
你们走过来的？
完了。
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to be the first to welcome you to Quito, Ecuador. The local time here is approximately 1:07.
That's us.
Hey guys. How you doing? You all right? You good? Okay.
I've traveled to Ecuador, a small country in South America that until recently was largely unknown in China. But now, hundreds of Chinese arrive every day. Because it's the closest country to the United States that allows Chinese passport holders to enter visa-free. In the capital, Quito, I soon come across this small group of Chinese. They're willing to be filmed on condition that we don't give out their real names. So we assign them aliases. Uncle Wang, Auntie Lan, Jaden, and Chubby Chef, who worked as a cook in China.
不是，这有豆角儿，摘豆角回炖吃的。这大豆是吧？
这是中国人干的事。
They look like any group of Chinese tourists that one would encounter anywhere in the world. And that's the story they had to stick to get into Ecuador.
说海关可能时间比较长，他会把这些中国人放到一边去，慢慢拿着你那个行程单就来问你到这来干什么啊？然后问你什么时候回去啊？酒店订好了没有啊？反正问你一些问题，全部用中文来问你。比如他还会跟我大姐，你去美国吗？你就说哎耶哦，然后还有我大姐反应很够快。
我说 no， 激动。OK。
It's their first time out of China, so even with a mission, they want to have fun.
东北大哥来个 pose 啊，不然赶出来的都是勇者。
And try new things. To cheer Uncle Wang up, we head to a Chinese restaurant.
只要是背个背包、光溜溜的，都基本上都是走线。
这是中国人。
对，只要一看，一个眼神，一个对视，
都明白，都懂啊。
The term they mention, 走线, literally translates to walk the line in English. It's a newly coined expression on the Chinese internet, referring to exactly what they're doing, taking long and arduous detours to reach America.
走到这儿花了多少钱？已经
3.5万。
现在的预期是走完还得花多少钱？
正常的话，至少要10个左右。
都拿得出来这个钱吗？
我们是录卡呀，在卡里录啊，信用卡这些。现在好多。
你那么年轻，你信用卡没有这个额度？
有，信用卡有10万块吧。
所以走线以前基本上都是南美人，很穷的国家。这个中国是世界上第2大经济体，怎么那么多人来走线呢？
那疫情这3年疫情把老百姓坑成了，自己做买卖做了能不到2年嘛，赔了那20来万。
就把钱全部赔光了吗？自己的积蓄？
不是赔了他妈的新房都没住上，玩意儿这就是出来开始当班了吗？现在对于我来说，我2孩子不好骂。
就因为像我们就是有个小的加工厂啊，做皮具类的啊，可能这4年总共亏损了差不多90多万，一看是真的是没有钱挣，现在还有点路费赶快爬啊。
在国内像我这么大年纪，基本上打工都没人要。今年56，去那边嘛，不管多大年龄，只要你肯做。
像我们也是想投奔自己，说实话，好不容易我要感谢拜登，我也跟他3个手拜登，真的感谢他。如果不是他愿意接纳这些我们这些难民的话，我们这些也不敢跑。虽然我心里面可能对特朗普共和党，我觉得可能他的政策可能对美国有利一点，但是拜登呢对移民好。
A plan to vote for Trump. And I believe all my family, we're gonna vote for Trump because we do need a change in this country. Our town is so small, if you go too fast, you're gonna miss it for sure. Any minute now, we're gonna come to the open border. And that's where immigrants coming into this country. Somebody from the other side probably telling them where that entrance in a fence is.
The Mexican.
As you see right here to the left, there is a open border right here. This is where they're coming from. This is where they're coming in right here.
My property was like this before over there with the burning now. It's how dangerous it was over there.
There was a lot of grass. It's fire hazard. That's what she's talking about. They do whatever they want to do. They burn on your property. They use the bathroom. They don't clean up after themselves. They drink the water, throw the bottle there. Can I take them out of there? I took my gun and I shoot in the air 4 bullets. The police arrest me. They even border patrol tell them leave them alone. You cannot move them out of there. So. You know, I think Chinese have more right than we do here. I can see their leader. I can see their well-being and all that. But I don't understand why they come over here. I really would like to know that myself.
Back in Quito, we moved to a district where the Chinese migrants find lodging, a guest house catering almost exclusively to the walk the line crowd.
There's just this random pot of cash, I think left by past guests. And they got these obviously from the countries they had traveled through. So you've got Turkey, Thailand. I know this one. This is from Hong Kong. Huh. What's this? Qatar Central Bank.
The migrants often stay here for a few days to rest and mentally prepare for the Darien Gap. A dense jungle between Colombia and Panama that till this day has no roads, so crossing it requires walking on foot for up to a week. The guesthouse owner, originally from Beijing, agrees to speak to us only if we conceal her identity and the location of the property.
规模最大的时候，平均一天要走40-50个人。
为什么好像就是这几个政府，包括厄瓜多尔，大家不太在乎？
现在所有的旅馆都生意也不是很好，是吧？都是靠这些人。那这些人是不是要吃点东西啊？要住个旅馆啊？你要最起码要坐他这个大巴，他等于是给这个国家也带来了很多的这个，所以人家还挺开心的嘛。
您估计雨林里面死过中国人吗？
一个老乡，北京人，他是60多岁了，还是在我这儿住。6月17号，去年我记得很清楚，他晚上就跟我说的，我今天晚上连夜坐船走。然后进了雨林就没再出，没有再声音了。我觉得他已经不在了。 因为他没有理由不跟我联系。
您自己对他们想去美国这件事怎么看呢？
我觉得人各有志吧。
他们是走到哪儿了，再去乡下。我看他们节奏太慢了，受不了。
他们两个没得你们那个着急的。
At the same time, there's trouble within the group we met the day before. Jaden and Chubby Chef want to pay a smuggler to get them to the entrance of the Darien Gap, but have been slow to confirm a time for departure. While Uncle Wang and Auntie Lan are eager to hit the road and want to save money by navigating the journey on their own.
我想，因为你毕竟在路上是耗的时间是耗的紧的嘛，是不是？早点早点找工作，是不是？
OK， 对，见到了吗？那是把那个好的人的破视频。
不早啊。
So after receiving last-minute yellow fever vaccinations, the pair set off for the road. First, a 5-hour bus ride to Taucan, a small town on the Ecuadorian border with Colombia. A trip that my security advisor Paul says can go dangerously wrong.
Ecuador is becoming narco country. We now have a lot of carteles into Ecuador. You always get news about someone getting killed, a place that's getting bombed. Even the schools are in danger now.
But with a bit of luck, Uncle Wang and Auntie Lan arrive at the border incident-free. Unlike Ecuador, Colombia requires a visa for Chinese passport holders to enter officially. A local man offers to take them through the unofficial channel for a fee away from the camera. At the same time, I get a first-hand experience of the border town.
Some guy just whistled at me from that shop, which is full of Chinese people. I think the smuggler might be thinking I'm one of his merchandise. After a brief hiatus, the journey continues. Just after dark, they arrive at a bus interchange on the Colombian side of the border. A large South American family is setting up camp for the night. To Pasto. Okay.
Pasto?
Family? Familia. Familia.
They too are hoping to go to Pasto, the first major city in Colombia. But as it gets dark, the road ahead gets dangerous. The family plans to sleep rough. The woman is clearly pregnant.
We were overloaded with baby stuff. Babies move through so fast we barely even see them. Yeah, they take them first. So anyways, we don't really need that. I gotta get going because I'm feeding people right now.
percentage of them would you estimate are Chinese?
I would say my guess is that on most days, upwards of 50%. Most of the people who are coming from China are not really familiar with camping out, staying out in the country, dealing with the kind of harsh situation that we have here, because they seem to be mostly urban people to my reckoning. They come from a very orderly society, and as you will see in a moment here, this is not a particularly orderly situation.
Hola. ¿Cómo está?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All we got is fruit, sandwiches, and water.
Okay.
We're gonna move some water back. I'm not gonna move the table out of the way a little
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
World famous PB&J's. Having a ball.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry.
6, 5, 7, 58, 59, 60, 60 people. Yesterday we fed about 750 people. I have been doing this continuously for about 10 weeks now. It's really hard to get a bunch of Chinese people to line up in a queue. I think people are really worried that there might not be enough food for everybody, so they just warm me in front of one. And they're right, there might not be enough food for everybody. Sad to say. There, I can see at least 30 people right now. There's probably more coming in behind. Border Patrol doesn't do anything except kind of point them in this direction. They give them a colored wristband. You saw the colored wristbands? That's the day of the week. They pretend these people are not being detained by saying, oh, look, they just decided to stay here all by themselves. Oh, they'll stay here for up to 4 days, sometimes 5 days. It's a complete legal fiction.
Anybody have red?
White. Green over here.
Back on the road, Uncle Wang and Auntie Lan are getting ready to board a flight. They hope to get from Pasto in southern Colombia to Nicoclí in the north, where the track through the Darien Gap starts. The sudden arrival of the Chinese migrants has left an impression on the locals. Even the airport staff have now mastered a few words in Chinese. As it gets close to departure, more Chinese-looking people turn up, some with young children in tow. Jaden and Chubby Chef also arrive for the same flight. Once we've boarded, it's clear that almost a third of the passengers are Chinese.
我在老家养牛，因为养了2年了，他说卫生拍照了，然后又把你拆掉，又1分钱没有补助。然后呢，就说你几个房子，发了你1手的技术，你建好了，他又说你违章，又把你拆掉，1分钱没有补助。 我从10几岁就出来，从一无所有做到负债累累，我用了20多年来打拼。我觉得我是个很聪明的人，我也是个很努力、很勤奋的人，但是都没有办法活得下去。
有这么多国家可以去，为什么一定要去美国呢？
别的国家你要经过正常的移民渠道， 你这样子走进去，他不会收留你，他把你遣返。在美国，它是一个非常包容的国家。
On this flight, we also meet a family from Chengdu. Mom, Dad, and 13-year-old Lucy.
从哪里看？
来 T1嘛，第二个是波哥到达蒙特利亚嘛，波哥到达蒙特利亚是 T1登机楼。
哦，那我们现在是要去。
好乖啊！
Cheerful and outgoing, they stand out among the nervous Chinese migrants.
Thank you. Thank you.
Once in Akakli, I make plans to shadow the family. They're rooming with a few other Chinese migrants. And today, they need to go shopping for the upcoming Darien crossing.
没有的，警察过来一个人要收20美元。
对，这也是吗？
一样，都一样，都一样。我们是行走的美元。小肥羊，原来他们那个南美人只收1美元或者2美元，直接我们中国世界第2大强国嘛，对吧？肯定是身价高嘛。我们这是不是在这里啊？我看一下。
应该就是在这条街，就是这里。
刚才我们在这里是一样。
Dobla hacia la calle, una calle que va a la otra calle que sí.
Thank you.
走，去超市里买点巧克力，买点东西。
买巧克力。要买。好凉快。
罐头要不要买？
不要。
他们买了好多方便面，我说你干嘛吃？他说带了什么炉子了。
他买了个炉子。
我买几个方便面。
种不起来的，对，你不要想这些，要么你自己买炉子，但是你不要动，逼不动。你这个思维是错的，你这个思维是居家过日子的，你的思维应该是去那个野外生存的这个思维，要换个模式。
把炉子买过来啊。
我认为连方便面都不要，我去搞牛肉干。
我才不要吃你的，我的牙口不好。
OK，
我还是买几个方便面。
可以。对，我尊重你的选择嘛。我也是拿个炉子，我可以。No， wife number one， number two， kid。I'm yeah Chinese family。
哎，那是不是要买个叉子啊？
你还要把床带进去的。
不，我跟你想法不一样。你到时候。
There are a lot of arguments as they try to sort out what to buy to last them for the days in the jungle. The Chinese were not terribly outdoorsy people, and we've had no Boy or Girl Scouts, so this is quite an experience.
麻烦你有麻烦。
你来做主好吧？啊，谢谢。 在中国的社会里，现在老婆决定一切，我们的生活才会幸福美满。
其实英文里面也有这句话。
也有这句话。
你要不要我教你
？OK。
Happy wife, happy life.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yay!
Thank
There you go. 对，出来这件事情，对爸爸有没有什么问题？
刚开始内心是抗拒的啊。 现在还是比较惊喜的。他刚开始跟我说，他说，是不是我们直接一张机票到纽约？我说本质上是这样的，但是我们有可能要那个走别的地方，我们去旅游一圈再到纽约。
篷要不然马上买了。
要买，
帐篷要买，在这里。
随便吧，鞋子千万不能随便，你一定要那个，要不然你会走的会命都没了的。多少
7.3万。
12000。下次中国人过来，就介绍给你。
收货。
这是3机哦，上机哦，不要错过。我买那么多，下次我们中国过来，每一机都有过来，然后我就介绍给你。你呀，小气儿。
只要白色的，黄色的，去排黄色的队。All white. There you go. Sit down on the ground and take your cell phones out. Come on, move in. Cell phones, put them in your bags.
To your back, please.
把这个系在包上，然后把这个撕下来了和护照夹起来放在身上，只是 Part 3，只是第3部分。这上面夹的是第2部分和第1部分，第3部分夹在护照上。
我睇卡下啦，真係。用手捂住脸。
China. And when people cough, tell them to cover their mouth.
用手捂住嘴巴。
如果咳嗽的话，那捂住嘴。
I don't want to get sick.
只当 T 恤。It's okay.
No, it's a jacket, is it?
杰克不行，就厚的外套不行，厚的外套不行。
It needs to be a T-shirt, a shirt. No jackets, no hoodies, no sweatshirts, cardigans, nothing.
做什么工作的？
我是大学去土木了。
你上过大学，为什么还要走线呢？
这是个很长的问题。
从哪个城市去？
深圳。
What nationalities do you see more of these days?
To be perfectly honest with you, Chinese.
Is that a surprise?
Yeah, out here.
Yeah.
It's not our normal customer.
就是牛肉好好哎，切肉多放点盐，防止泄斥。
为什么要做牛肉干？
是因为进了雨林没有食物，它不是补充能量嘛？
你老公会做，他觉得他会做，
他觉得他会做，他觉得他会做。爸爸每次觉得他搞了新鲜的东西，他都觉得自己会做，结果后面还要我给他称一称。
这个好像就是，
这个味道好。
哦，是那个，
洋葱的味道。
洋葱大蒜
也可以。
这个是咸的，尝尝，我觉得可能是咸的。
No，
不咸哈。
搅拌一下。算了，待会儿不止全部不要。这个不要了，这个没用了吧？没用了。
我真的以为你没有办法把它做出来。
我就是看那个小红书上看来的，
是吧？
事在人为嘛，它就属于那个高能量的，而且能够抗饿的。这种东西有点像那个阿坝州，有点像阿坝州的那个风干牛肉。
对，因为妈妈当时不知道要放多少盐。
搞到这样，我不要叫他们弄了。
你们家是你做饭还是妈妈做饭？
妈妈做饭。
妈妈平时做饭。
妈妈做饭比较厉害，可能她可能是心里抗拒这个东西，她就不想做，她就瞎做。她对她喜欢的东西，她做得很好的，而且她很有天赋，对做美食。但是她觉得我在胡闹，她就，我告诉她这不是胡闹，因为到雨林里面，到时候吃一口咸的都觉得很奢侈的。
是。但
是她不相信，那就没办法了。
所以你记得我教你的那句话吗
？Yeah， 那个happy wife, happy life.
There you go.
Thank you. 他现在是这样的啊，小汪，他现在叫我们等于是下午，他等一下4点钟有人送票过来，好，我们每个人交430块钱，剩余的尾款220到岛上交给艾德家。可以。他说这是朋友的价格。有影响啊，我知道，一般是700是正常的。哦，孩子一人收200。
这几条一共有几条线路可供选择？
据我所知，他介绍给我是3条线路，一条是阿凯迪，卡布加纳，还有个卡雷托，是三条线路。阿凯迪350，那个叫什么？中间那个？
卡布加纳。
好像是480。对，那个是650。
这几条线价格为什么不一样呢？
应该是难易的程度不一样。就是说，阿凯迪是最经典的路线，就是南美人一直走的路线，它是比较艰难。那个中间那个可能艰难程度低一点，在最后那个卡雷托是相对最容易的。是这个样子的。价格涨了好多，今年2月份2月份有人走卡雷托只要付300刀，价格涨了超1倍多。
哦哟，这个通货膨胀
不是通货膨胀，我这个是供需关系不一样。
供需关系，对，你讲的是对的。
对。
The way they talk about the Darien Gap, it's simply men versus nature. But I know it's a lot more than that. When I was still in Quito, a friend heard about my travel plan and called me up. Once a senior politician in a Latin American country, he's done extensive work in the area and still advises governments in a region. In order to give me his honest opinion, he asks me not to reveal his identity and disguise his voice.
Let me tell you that this is very challenging, difficult, and perhaps a very dangerous project, especially in the Darien area. There is not much presence of either Colombian or Panamanian police or any type of governmental presence because it's an area that it has always been deserted. And there are several different groups of criminal gangs that operate. They make profit out of the problem of the people that needs to travel and migrate. Use violence. There have been reports of raping women, mistreatment of the young people, children and young women to be given to all their gangs that are involved in the sexual trade and the prostitution chains and the sort of things.
Is there something that we should or absolutely should not do?
So I will be very careful about filming in front of people that you don't know, that might feel threatened by disclosing their identities. And do you have a satellite phone?
Yes, I do.
Watch out with that. You need that and try not to use openly in front of people that you don't know.
Okay.
Because they might think that you are communicating with somebody else, especially if you're gonna be talking in foreign language or English.
Okay, so they need assurance that whatever information we have will not be given to authorities.
Exactly. If you have a good fixer, he should be able to arrange the terms with the people that are the ones in charge.
The criminal gang that controls the Darien is also Colombia's largest drug cartel. I obviously have no personal connection there. So I shouldn't go try and talk to that guy.
I think the guy's gonna probably give you an interview.
So I've asked a journalist contact in Colombia to help me out. Carlos has reported from the Darien Gap several times, and today we sent him off again into the jungle to ask for permission for us to enter. That looks very quiet. Is that normal?
The last time I was here was last April, and it was a lot more people. ¿Qué ha pasado, hermano? ¿Por qué se cayó tanto el negocio? ¿Qué pasó?
Ahora por ahí de 20 días para acá, un mes, demasiado. Bajó mucho.
Ajá.
Muy bajito. La gente quiere quedarse en diciembre en la casa. ¿Sí o no?
It's just like the Christmas season and all this stuff.
Oh, yes,
People
yes.
stop moving, you know?
Yes,
Eso
the
quiere
South
pasar con la
Americans want to spend
familia,
Christmas
¿sí o
at
no?
home.
Pero lo que ha
Sí.
estado pasando y ha estado pasando mucho chino y mucho ecuatoriano.
I'm gonna get my ticket first.
Carlos is heading to Cartagena. Most Chinese migrants are headed there too, where they will wait until nightfall and sail again in the dark to reach Querétaro in Panama, where their trek starts.
Recomiendo los empaques en una bolsita plástica, artículos delicados, cámaras, cosas así, teléfono, ya personal, ya que la empresa no se hace responsable si se moja.
I hope you come back with good news.
I hope so.
Well, the most important thing is you come back, yeah?
No, I will. No worries about that. I mean,
Okay. All right. Otherwise, we're gonna have to go look for you.
that otherwise you have a kicking ass story, man.
All right, man. Okay.
Yeah, take it easy.
Good luck.
Take care, guys. I'll see you in a bit.
Okay. Previously on Walk the Line. As hundreds of Chinese citizens enter the U.S. illegally via its southern border every day, more are following in their footsteps.
从哪个城市去？深圳，我是大学是土木。
I fly to Ecuador to join their journey. Some guy just whistled at me from that shop. The smuggler might be thinking I'm one of his merchandise. And meet a family in Colombia as they prepare to cross the Darien Gap.
我认为连方便面都不要，我去搞牛肉干。
我才不要吃你的油盐。
慈爱的天父，孩子感谢赞美你，主啊！求你继续带领我们前面的道路，求你洁净这食物，使我们能够身体康健，灵魂活泼。如此祷告，奉主耶稣基督的名祈求，阿门。OK。
这个是有洋葱吗？
Mom, Dad, and Lucy left China almost a month ago, taking detours through Thailand and Turkey before arriving in South America.
你们是怎么走上这条路的？
我们当时就是很想简单的，就想把孩子带出去。
因为我们的女儿她是在教会学校上学，就是所谓的教会学校，就是在中国是属于违法教学，它属于地下学校。但是家庭教会被冲击之后，教会被取缔，学校也被冲击没有了。曾经在我们家也上了2-3个月，后来就被无意中又被他们发现了，后来就也不能上了。不能上来嘛，我们在成都那个租房，那个房东就是隐晦的跟我说，我这个房租下面就不给你续了。
规划是谁做的？
规划对，我是通过那个 YouTube 还有 Telegram 汇集资料，就自己 DIY 嘛。因为钱不多嘛，没有多少钱。
多少钱的？
一家人反正20万不到嘛。
哦，那是真的。
对，就预算是很紧张的，就只能是 DIY 嘛。就一步一步来嘛。
现在想起来过雨林，担心吗？
我担心他怕他没怎么是那种运动的类型的孩子，而且他是这样子，他走几步会头疼啊，所以我就怕他身体吃不消，所以我就买了很多东西。
爸为什么不担心？
就像我们在船上一样，虽然海里有风浪，但是上帝他一直与我们同在，所以我就不会担心。就算船翻了，也是上帝与我们同在，我们进入他的怀抱。
现在没有回头路可以走。
对，因为我很渴望那种自由，就是说你免于恐惧，你说什么做什么，只要是不侵犯他人，你都是自由的。我就很想这样的感觉，但是我从来没有拥有过。
实话，我没有他那么大的那种理想抱负，我就想到我的孩子，他的以后的出路是好的，是轻松的，不要像我这么累。其实我们很单纯，觉得美国遍地是黄金，我们过去一节就可以了。
这种不好吃，这个是啥？猪腿肉，300块钱2房肉，太贵了这。 这个3块9毛5，
换算成人民币的话，30块了。
30块，贵。我靠，这个34块9毛9一包，好贵呀、多少钱？多少钱？
上来，
我看一下
，20块4毛3。
20块4毛3。哇，光买点零食20块4毛3。大哥有没有啥活啊？
挂刷板
嘛，
就只有仓库。
美国是就这个样子，美国就是这个环境。
反正最近好多人回去了。
10个人里面，现在应该有1个以上回去了，再过段时间就2个、3个，最后要4个、5个，生存艰难啊！美国不是想象中的美国，美国已经完犊子了，
美国
衰败了，
破碎了。
差不多美国了，
但是还是很多人来，过完年还有很多人要来，说是要很多。对，大哥有活干，说一声。
It's been 12 hours since Carlos left Nicocli to try and get us access to the Darien Gap from the drug cartel that controls the area.
Take care, guys. I'll see you in a bit.
He had promised to be back by sunset, but so far he's nowhere to be seen. In recent months, the cartel has issued death threats against several reporters. I can no longer sit on my hands, so I call another local journalist who's dealt with the cartel before. Carlos went in today. He sort of didn't come back. Should I be worried?
He didn't come back.
He didn't come back today.
What time did he went?
He went, I think he took the 7:30, 8 o'clock boat.
That's taking a while. That's a brave move, you know?
Okay.
We're taking a risk.
Okay. Is there anything else we could do?
Honestly, no, because if you don't get that yes, I think we should idea to go.
Really bad idea in what sense?
Thank you.
Without getting a go-ahead from Carlos, we cannot depart for the Darien Gap with the Chinese migrants. But I want to see them off, as they are about to embark on the most challenging part of the journey, a multi-day trek through a virgin jungle. Nicocli is a beach resort in Colombia, but its fortunes took a dive during the pandemic. Since then, migrants have taken over the town. On the beach, clusters of large families, mostly Venezuelan, camp out, sometimes for months, until they find enough money to buy ferry tickets to move forward. The United Nations Refugee Agency provides them with clean drinking water, but that's about all the help they get. By contrast, the Chinese move through Nicocli quickly. On the pier, I begin to see familiar faces.
Is
seem like they're in good shape. Carrying very little stuff. I think they've gotten rid of most of their belongings. It's gonna be a 2.5-hour boat ride to Copacabana, where they'll have to wait till the night to go again on an illegal boat at night into Panama. That's where they start the trek. Colombia in the past year has come under increasing U.S. pressure to stop the flow of migrants. But in Necoclí, you can hardly sense that. Carlos told me even though there are police on the streets in Necoclí, the town is under de facto control of the drug cartel. And that might explain why the police hardly bat an eye while hundreds of migrants move under their watch. The family and the other migrants we had gone shopping with are also set to depart today, but I don't see them on the pier.
Use violence. There have been reports of raping women, mistreatment of the young people, children, and young women to be given to all their gangs that are involved in the sexual trade and the prostitution chains and the sort of things.
哎，哥，太好了，太好了！啊，那个几点让你们走的？几点跟你们说可以走的？
现在1点4点半跟我说的。
Turns out by showing up at the family's lodging the day before, we had alarmed the smuggler. So he moved the entire group out of Necoclí before dawn. Everything is happening faster than we anticipated. But unfortunately for us, another day goes by without any word from Carlos for us to enter the Darien Gap.
I just don't believe them anymore.
It's all right. Sit down, sit down, sit down.
And you know
sit
the
down.
right.
Suddenly, Carlos shows up.
This is incredible because when I arrived on the boat like 2 days ago, the army was on the docks, like
In Copacabana.
fully dressed, machine guns, bullets, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, first time I seen them there like this. The army got in like 2-3 days ago, looking for smugglers, you know, because they've been 2 arrested already.
Yeah.
So this jungle commando is in the jungle, and these guys are like, look, man, I give you the permit, you go in the jungle, something happens, it's on us. Something happens like a shootout and some of you get injured or anything, it's like, I can't do this, I can't. You know, and
How unusual is this for the
Incredible.
Colombian army to go into the jungle?
Incredible
Because
and
that's not their
unusual.
turf, right? They don't control that area.
incredible and unusual. They never been there in 18 years.
We have prepared for months, both physically and mentally, for the Darien Gap. But the journey is not to be. Now we must come up with a different plan. We waited in Necoclí for 3 days, but the drug cartel eventually told us we were not welcome. That's why we now have to leave. So we head to Panama, hoping to catch up with the Chinese migrants on their way out of the Darien Gap. In Panama, migrants aren't allowed to roam free. They're taken into government-run migrant reception centers as soon as they emerge from the Darien Gap, and then bust onto the next country. So our chances of encountering them on a street is next to none. I'm just trying to enter one of the migrant reception centers. It's controlled by the border police. So they stepped into a puddle. I've lost touch with the family, so now I have no choice. That whole van of soldiers just went past me. I'm pretty sure they saw me, but they didn't care. Yeah. We've made our way into one of the migrant reception centers. There were some people charging their phones there. One Chinese guy. Yeah. Have you seen chinas? Chinas? It's a bit confounding, given in a Cockley on the dock, most people we see are Chinese. So, let's see.
Sí, se fueron ya. O sea, ellos llegan, si llegan de noche, pasan la noche y al día siguiente ya se van en la mañana, se van.
How long have you been here?
17 días ya.
Why do the Chinese people get to leave so quickly?
Porque ellos pagan el pasaje rápido, $60 por persona. Hasta los niños pagan.
How much money do you need?
Imagínate, nosotros somos 12.
How much money do you have?
Tenemos como 100.
What are you going to do?
Porque estamos ayudando haciendo labor social. No nos dan dinero, nos exoneran el pasaje pues, y nos mandan hasta Costa Rica.
Just as I'm giving up hope to catch the family in Panama.
喂，喂，哎哥，哎你好。
对，我刚才有网了，有电了。就那个，明天我们是先坐那个独木舟到达那个公路边。
好，平安就好，平安就好。明天早上我们开车过来，我们大概1个小时能到。你们是不是9点左右能到？
那肯定是快一点，你们快一点，
我们快一点。那我们明天见哈。
好，拜拜。
好嘞，好，拜拜。
The family has recorded their journey through the Darien Gap.
啊？妈妈还在后面呢。
A 55-kilometer track over mountains and rivers. Many of their fellow Chinese quickly tire out and pay porters to carry their bags and children. The track takes 2.5 days. And at each day's end, they set out to camp with large swaths of the jungle clear to make way. Once out of the Darien Gap, they get fresh food and Coca-Cola.
那边有 WiFi，
这里有
WiFi 5块钱2小时，1小时3块钱。
And pay for Wi-Fi in order to call me.
几个哥们儿你好，我这边是做二手车的，做这。现在有中国驾照的话也可以开。
有中国驾照也可以开吗？
啊，前面半年6个月。
加个微信，
加个微信。租车买车的需求的话，可以联系我。然后你们现在没有身份的话，也可以贷款买车。没事。包括你现在没有银行卡的话，你买的车不是特别贵的话，情况下买几千块钱车的话，我们车行业自己也可以借给。假如你买个1万块钱左右的车，你首付就是3000块钱。假如你首付不够的话，我们也可以给你垫着。 你到时候你后面每个月也按然给，像这种月供的话，1个月的月供也就200多块钱。
那大哥，我想问一下，通过这个车去跑西啊、跑优步啥的吗？
可以啊，
也可以。
假如你送快递送着，不是你也不可能天天去送，1个月的话你挣5000块钱的话，比你在国内挣3万块钱日子过得都舒服。
OK，明白了。
那边买车你会发现比买个手机还简单。这边的话就是红雀帕克的丁胖子广场，然后这边华人的第一站都是来这里。我主要是经常来这边的话，因为这边刚来的人多嘛，待在这里面大部分人都是没有车的。有些人虽然在这边挂币，但那只是一小部分人。挂币的话，他们就是在这边先待着。跟大部分人想的是挣快钱，像国内那种挣快钱的态度，觉得眼前的，假如说他觉得一个月在这边挣2、3千块钱的话，他觉得这种工作做不做无所谓，他觉得他不能给他一个很富裕的一个生活，他就觉得那我还不如当着。
In Panama, we get up bright and early for the only opportunity to see the Chinese migrants in this country. We've come to Puerto Limón, a small Panamanian village at the exit of the Darien Gap. You could see walking around here how the migration trade has completely transformed this place. All these stalls are built up to cater to migrants. And it's also interesting how the Chinese have left a footprint. The signs, other than the ones in Spanish, which is their native language, the most visible ones are in Chinese. See, take a look at there. Just look at the sign here. It says China Bodega, exchanging US dollar, utilizing WeChat Pay and Alipay. That's what usually the Chinese migrants have on them. This is basically all the stuff you can get from a grocery shop in China. Mastercone instant noodles with spam on the side. Wang Lao Ji is a sweet herbal drink, very popular with the Chinese. Sunflower seeds, la tiao, sort of a spice mix, very popular again in China. You know, somebody must have been acquiring these things directly from China because I've never seen these things in South America. Look at the handwriting. This is much better than my handwriting, so there's no question. A real Chinese person is behind this shop. And it's really mind-boggling how this ecosystem can so quickly form around the migration trade. The boats are coming in now.
Fourth boat is our family.
Which one?
The fourth boat is our family.
That's them. I'm beginning to see familiar faces. That's Auntie, the one in pink. They look tired. I can tell Auntie looks very tired. Mom is a bit unsteady.
我把你的眼镜带过来了，我什么都扔了，就把你的眼镜给带过来了。
谢谢你，谢谢你。身体怎么样？是不是有点虚弱？
没有，太辛苦了。
来，大姐怎么样？怎么样？哎呀，平安就好，平安就好，平安就好。好，
哦，太危险了。
啊，
我们觉得是捡了一条命换
出来的。
哎呀，平安就好，平安就好，平安就好。来，好，走。 哎呦，
你走也好，你
They brought my sunglasses. They've thrown away most of their belongings, but they kept my sunglasses.
你给他啥？
良心，老板良心，1比7.8，一路上最良心的兄弟。
没办法，大家都是中国人嘛，是不是？
对对，
中国人办中国人应该。
全的 ，Go Go Go！
哎，小心点，小心点。
路上最难的是哪一段？
那个哥伦比亚从卡雷托海滩，简直地狱模式，座椅全部是碎掉了，
碎掉了座椅都。
人抬起来，
砸下来，
砸下来，
木板的座椅吗
全部？碎掉了，坐在地上，你看我这里全部是伤，
这都是在船上
在船上
受的
搞破的，船上搞破了。对，前天晚上，听说失踪了27个人。
27个人失踪了。
失踪了。
什么事情失踪？
就是船翻了，
船翻了，
就是我们
同一条线。
对，就是我们在我们的后面。
哎呦，我害怕死了！我的床上小孩特别多，那小孩哭声啊，真的是很心酸啊。他吓死了嘛，那个船可以飞起来，可以打到30米啊。
那个时候有没有想到，真的可能生命就会这么结束？
我想到了，然后我的船而且坏了，坏在海面上，就这样飘。其实这是我最恐惧的，因为它就不是你能掌控了，然后它就这样飘了这个20来分钟，哎呀，太恐怖了！我当时在想，如果它船修不好了掉头，我就不走。我就不走了，我就这条路不走，太恐怖了。
所以你觉得后面的人，你会跟他们讲不要来了？
已经说了。
对，不管为了什么目标，你搭上生命是的。
我知道我没吃过这个。
妈，下边也不走，现在往我认识人，谁告诉我这样走线，谁也别走，累死也不走。
你跟你老公跟你儿子说了吗？
说了，不敢抱得这么危险。
啊，怎么呢？
就说以后啊，再多的钱别提这个。多少钱都不赚，就那船太危险了。当时就想自己都放弃生命了，那时候我都想不抓他死了算了，就想这样的。
那对的，我觉得只要能逃出中国，比什么都强。只要离开那个鬼地方，比哪儿都强，上哪儿都强。
前面的别插队啊！
哦，他不用急的，放心，肯定拉不下你们的。哎呀，
不用急的，急没有用的。
他们不会拉下你们的，一定要把你们打走。
Soon, Panama's border police arrived to take the migrants away. We will not see them again until they get to Mexico.
Main Street， 然后左转进入。
在国内呢发表过一些言论吧，甚至号召过一些事情。在今年过完年以后，一直到8月份，已经被叫过去7次，毫无任何理由叫过去。
你说在你今年来美国之前被叫过去？
对，他也不会给你任何东西凭证，就是毫无理由。
那比如说你现在还保留之前的手机，然后有通话记录吗？
通话记录的话，我可以在这上面调取。
那我听下来的话，你其实应该是比较符合这个庇护的条件的。其实我有一点非常重要的要跟你去解释，就是关于这个法律的一个变化。就是在511之后啊，如果你是从美墨边境南边这边偷渡进来的人，除非你适用于他所列出来的一些例外情况，如果不适用的话，那么你非法的进来，你就没有资格去申请庇护。当然你知道这个法律嘛，它换一个总统或者是随着时间推移，它变化还是蛮快的。当你最终依然是今天法律的话，你可能最后不一定拿到庇护的绿卡。但是呢，我们可以争取的是说，最好的就是说一个暂缓递解，这样子你是不会被送回到你本国去，你也有一个工卡可以继续在这里生活。
就是您说的暂缓递解，那我的孩子我可以把他接过来。
庇护的话是你一个人成功了，那么你的配偶以及你21岁以下未婚的这个子女都是可以相当于附属的一个家属一样把他带过来的。但暂缓递解的话，必须每一个人都有一个自己的一个申请。我们现在1个月的话，可能有60-70个吧，我们新增的客户。如果你经过这些程序，最终输掉了你的案件，那么你就会有一个递解令，那么美国政府就要开始递解你。可是对于中国人来讲，有一个很大的不同，他会联系中国领事馆，请求他们去补发一些旅行文件或者护照，让这个人能够登上飞回中国的飞机去把他遣返回去。可是中国领事馆对于这种请求都是不予理会的。那么这些人最终在关了一段时间以后都会被放出来，然后绝大多数人也可以申请工卡。
喂，你去见律师了吗？去了。他说了，我们这拿不到绿卡，是511以后所有的人100%拿不到。以目前的法律政策。
那其实说这些其他的律师都说的是假话吗？
对。
那我们这511之后来的不是没有任何意义
啊，现在目前就是这个状况。突然感觉失去了动力一样。
I've flown from Panama City to Tapachula on Mexico's southern border. The family and the other Chinese migrants should be arriving here in the next couple of days, having bust their way through Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, and Guatemala. Up until this point, Chinese migrants are easy to spot on a migration trail, but in Mexico, that becomes much harder. That's because after Panama, thousands of Central Americans join the migration trail each day, fleeing violence and poverty at home. So by comparison, Chinese migrants are now a less prominent group.
¿Alguien de ustedes se quiere quedar en Tapachula? No. Todos nos queremos ir de Tapachula. Sí. Estamos aquí buscando un mejor futuro para nuestros hijos y para nosotros mismos. ¿De acuerdo?
these people, where did they come from and where are they trying to go?
Actualmente, este grupo que está aquí representa 24 nacionalidades, todo Centroamérica, Haití, Venezuela, Cuba, África, Asia, ucranianos, rusos, la mayoría, el 90% de las personas que están acá quiere cumplir el sueño americano, llegar a los Estados Unidos.
If they're trying to go to America, why are so many of them here?
El Instituto Nacional de Migración en México ha decidido no dar más trámites por presión del gobierno de los Estados Unidos.
Luis is now gathering signatures for a petition to the court, hoping the judiciary will force the immigration authorities to give in. Otherwise, he threatens to lead a caravan of migrants and walk on foot to reach the U.S. border. There are a lot of Chinese migrants coming to Tapachula, right? Why do I not see them here?
Porque la mayoría de los migrantes chinos tienen dinero. Los migrantes ricos, los que tienen dinero, llámese cualquier nacionalidad, llegan a Estados Unidos sin problema. Los migrantes pobres, que son estos que estamos viendo acá, son los que no pueden pagar para poder salir adelante.
Where are you guys from?
El Salvador.
How long have you been in Tapachula?
Me, 5 months. ¿Cuánto? 4 months.
Where are you from?
¿De dónde es usted?
Honduras.
Honduras.
How long have you been in Tapachula?
4 meses. Vengo huyendo de Honduras, me mataron mi familia. Mi mamá, mi papá, mi hijo, mi hermana.
I'm so sorry.
Lo lamento mucho.
The countries the Chinese migrants have passed through so far are all challenging in their own rights. But now I'm beginning to sense that Mexico could be an entirely different game. The Chinese migrants are beginning to reach Guatemala, the last country they'll have to get through before entering Mexico.
我们还在危地马拉城买票，不知道是几点的票。我们晚上是住到那个边境城市去，晚上到了那个住宿的地方，那个联系啊。
好的，好的。那明天早上如果过河的话，那就尽早跟我们说，我们在河这边等你们，好吗？好，一路平安哈。I'm eager to see them as soon as possible, so we're taking a drive out of Tapachula to the Suchiate River, Mexico's southern border with Guatemala. It's a border unlike any I've seen before. I'm in Mexico. The other side of the river is Guatemala. This border crossing is super busy, but super informal. I haven't seen anyone checking any papers. The people on the rafts going across is a mix of locals and migrants. It is hard for us to tell which one is which. And all the time we've been here, we haven't seen any Chinese migrants coming across. Our local fixer Benjamin tells us that we must stay on the north side of the river bridge because the south side is controlled by smuggling gangs who don't want their operations exposed. So we're relieved to hear that the family plans to cross the river on their own using one of the crossings we have access to. But hours go by and we still don't see them.
Niña de 12.
Ya
vienen un grupo.
¿Te acuerdas que hubo uno que se fueron? But there was a group, there was a group of Chinese people that took the tricycle.
Los ciclistas lo llevan para allá abajo por la ruta peligrosa.
So they probably went to the other side.
喂，哎，爸爸，你们到了。
现在所有的人啊，所有的人全部全部。
你现在在哪里？你不要动，我来找你好吗？
现在在这个码头，很多人在这里，他都。
你等我看一下，我看一下你的定位，我看一下你的定位好吗？ They're just right there. They're right there. Yeah.
杜伟，我们全部抢光了，我们全部抢光了。
那个，爸爸，哎呦，人没事吧？没事啊。哎呀，吓到了是不是？妈妈吓到了。
我们全部抢光了。
我
们面前还瘦身了，把衣服都脱光了，全部都抢了。
什么人抢的？
起码是6批人在那里，每一个人带批人，然后你主动的把包全部翻掉，翻掉以后把衣服全部脱掉收，女的一个都不放过。
对，平安就好，平安就好。
我现在在这里动不了，撑不了钱，
平安。
吃饭都没钱。
啊，没事没事。
他们说我们现在钱都不敢取，因为有一堆的飞车党在那边等着我们去取钱。钱不敢取。
只能是那我们这里能打 Uber 吗？
这里没有 Uber， 这样我
没有
你
有 Uber 我可以打 Uber。
没有，他必须要包车才。
哦，那麻烦了。
Mexico makes assisting migrants in transit a crime, so there's nothing we can do. The Chinese migrants find a group of Venezuelans, hoping they can tag along. Finally, a driver stops, agreeing to get paid after reaching Tapachula.
Okay, they're doing now. Then we'll just follow that man.
There are 3 immigration checkpoints on the way back to the city. I'm curious how they would navigate, so we follow their van. They're all getting out of the vehicle because there's the immigration checkpoint ahead. So they'll have to go to the other side of the road, walk on foot, hoping they won't get stopped, and then get picked up by the van on the other side.
Okay, up to you guys, up to you guys.
But only a few minutes later, we see the van stop by the roadside again, where there's no checkpoint.
Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Keep going, keep going.
Escucha.
Slowly, slowly, don't stress it, don't stress it.
The van is stopped.
Don't stop, just drive. We'll leapfrog.
Why do you think they stopped there? What's there?
Bueno, son 2 teorías que pensamos. La primera es que el transporte los baja, engañándolos que hay un punto de revisión, el cual no estaba ahí. Entonces los baja, los hace caminar, rodear para que salgan adelante y paguen una vez más el transporte público. La segunda es para asaltarlos o robarlos.
In the couple of hours that they've spent in Mexico, they've walked into a trap for a second time. Our fixer Benjamin says it would be incredibly dangerous for us to try to find them. He insists that we drive on.
哎，大哥啊，你们是不是路上下了车，走到一个小树林里面去了？我们等了很久都没有看到人来，现在很担心。你们到了塔帕斯一定通知我好吗？
Previously on Walk the Line,
The boats are coming in now.
we reunite with the Chinese migrants who survived the dangerous Darien Gap crossing from Colombia to Panama.
说的太危险了，哇，我们觉得是捡了一条命过来。
But it's in Mexico where they face the most treacherous part of their journey to America.
对，我们好可怜啊，我们全部抢光了，衣服、裤子全部偷了，所有的东西都抢了。
I'm back in Tapachula, a city near Mexico's southern border with Guatemala. Earlier in the day, Mom, Dad, and Lucy arrived in Mexico but were immediately robbed at gunpoint. A few hours later, bad luck struck again when their driver led them into a trap in order to demand a higher fare. But at last, the family makes it to Tapachula.
其实也是把我当人质了。
就是为什么？因为
Inside their Airbnb, we see more familiar faces. Uncle Wang and Auntie Lan also arrived in Tapachula, having encountered several rounds of police extortion in Guatemala.
知道那里来了3个人，有枪的哦，收哦，全部收哦，男的女的，连胸罩里面、那个三角裤里面光着就要收。三角裤也扯了开。那个全部反正是光的，我跟你这样说。哇，那真的是很可怜的，搬一趟差不多将近1个到2个小时，搬得你干干净净，他怎么搬？一件衣服哦，他就拿着像这个边边缝缝的。
很细致的，真的很细致的，很专业的。
这样，连这里
鞋子脱了，袜子脱光。
我说完蛋了，我现在是新人，我完蛋了，我藏在这里，我肯定要转移了。
我觉得中国人太苦了，这样出来还一路上受尽欺凌。
哎呀，不出来不知道啊，出来吓一跳啊！
爸，今天后悔吗？
现在也谈不上后悔了，因为现在的心情很平静了，就现在路已经就走到这阶段了，也没有开工，已经没有回头箭了。
现在花了多少钱？还剩多少钱？
不多了。
应该花到15万不到啊，应该15万没有到。
我们预算是20万，现在可能不行。
A family with 2 children that we first met in Pasto, Colombia, also arrived in Mexico. Having paid for a smuggling package from Costa Rica, their journey was largely uneventful, but still tiring and at times frightening.
没有尊严，根本没有尊严，你只是个货物。昨天那个感觉给我一个就是人口贩卖的感觉，他不会管你这个你在里边窒息不窒息，我儿子哭，女孩哭，我自己还累个半死。 我到底在图的什么？就是这个，对不对？就是说有点对不起孩子们，但是有的人说，那你没办法呀。有的人出生就在罗马。
Auntie Lan is leaving the group tonight. After the experience in Guatemala and hearing the horror stories about Mexico, she's decided to pay a smuggler to bring her all the way to the U.S. border.
多少钱？早上3万9，3万9价格是算高还是最低的？
正常的5000美金很正常。一个人好一点。
对呀，我们一家有10几万。
好，我先下去，走了啊。
我们就
先走啊。
要死。
好，拜拜。
拜拜。
拜拜。
慢点啊。
慢点啊。
I'm surprised that a smuggling package from Mexico alone would cost as much as their journey so far. I wonder what exactly they're paying for. Through our fixer Benjamin, we get in touch with a smuggler. He agrees to talk, but with some conditions. We cannot disclose the location of the meeting or show his face, and we must distort his voice. We will call him Mario, which is not his real name.
Mario, when was the last time you moved Chinese people?
De China, hace 4 días.
How many?
17. Lo más grande que hemos recibido es ahora mismo los que están yendo, pero regularmente recibimos entre 4 y 8 personas.
Are the Chinese good customers?
Un cliente chino es muy complicado, primero por el idioma, segundo por la comida. Definitivamente no podemos, tiene que acostumbrarse a comer frijoles, tacos, quesadillas y lo que es oriundo de aquí de México.
Talk to me about your service. Exactly what service do you provide?
Al llegar ya acá, frontera México-Guatemala, nosotros tenemos 2 tipos de servicio. El que es por avión de Tapachula para cualquier frontera hacia la frontera norte con Estados Unidos y...
Sorry, answer first and we start over.
Ok. A ya no le mandes el dinero, mándale para...
Bueno, ¿dónde están ahora?
Yo tengo que tener dinero disponible para poder empezar a pagar el viaje.
He just keeps walking away to take phone calls. It actually sounds like he's negotiating payment for some of the migrants.
¿Te parece bien?
You're very busy.
Un poco. Cuando hay trabajo sí paso la mayor parte del tiempo, 20 horas al día al teléfono.
How much of a difference does your service make as opposed to the migrants traveling by themselves on their own?
Porque si tú me contratas, en el camino no te van a asaltar, no te van a secuestrar. En el caso de las mujeres, las violan, las golpean. Los hombres, si defienden a la mujer, pueden hasta morir. Nuestro trabajo básicamente es que tú llegues de aquí para acá sana y salva en menor tiempo posible.
How do you make sure once they encounter a checkpoint, they don't get sent back?
Todo esto está pagado, por eso los precios. Por ejemplo, cuando se cruza el río, hay 3 puestos de control migratorio. Pasamos el río y nosotros tenemos carros que ya están pagados y que estos mismos carros les pagan para pasar frente a los puestos de migración. Son 3 que no los paren porque ya saben que lleva gente.
So out of $9,000, how much is going into your pocket? Because you have so many people you need to pay.
A lo mucho quedarán $400 por persona.
人瘦了好多哦，肚子都没了，就一路上。我这个肚子没了，我挺开心的，因为我在家里跑步跑了5年，也肚子也就这样了，就是很难解肚子。
是到了美国之后呀，打算干嘛？
刚开始没有工卡的话，我只能是洗碗的料。
你们2个，你觉得谁会先找到工作？
我觉得我。
我也很好看，我讲啊，我不怕苦，我怕什么？我在国内混了哦，唯一就不怕的就是卷。找工作嘛，15美元就15美元嘛，人家盖1个月盖不住，我可以盖3个月，有什么关系？
我千万不要卷，你知道吗？
他不让我们卷呢， 其实我觉得美国政府这次放进去这么多，几百万有了吧？是不是那些西方的希望降低一下人工的劳动力？
你觉得是放你们进去，希望你们去卷是吗？
3个省呢，我在跟
来吃饭。
爸爸，超市里有。小姐，到时候到纽约我们开那个投资开餐厅，中式餐厅，名字都想好了。对，真的中式餐厅我觉得很好，就中式餐厅。
要不咱就开吧。
这只鸡精没长是吗？
啊？你是怎么回事？
不知道。
你是怎么回事？
怎么了？
他昨天怎么没有送到那个危马拉了？今天又回来了。你是怎么样被轮回的？什么情况？你现在到了没有？到了，如果到了，到我这边来，我这里地址发给你。
去社会是谁的情况？
跟我们一起走的，昨天
一起的队友。
不对，你们不一起下的车吗？
对呀。
他就被护送回去了，可能路上被警察碰到了。
被送回危地马拉了。
对，他今天又过来了。
This last year, there was more than 2.4 million people apprehended crossing the border illegally. There were more than 24,000 people come across the border illegally from China. I will sign 3 laws today to better protect Texas and America from Biden's border neglect. It creates a criminal offense for illegal entry into Texas from a foreign nation.
今天晚上我们去做大巴到阿里亚家，我们要经过好几个检查站，求你与我们在一起，保守我们这个团队，是吧？也请求你保守在路上所有的中国人，我们知道我们的艰难，我们为何离开我们的国度，求你帮助我们在天上的父，不叫我们遇见试探，救我们脱离凶恶。阿门。好，好，垃圾带下去。
空调关了没？
关了。
风扇关了。 Okay, thank you.
Because flights out of Tapachula are tightly controlled, the group has opted to take the public bus. First, they wish to get to Arriaga, a city 100 kilometers away. We decide to travel with a group, disguising as travel vloggers. At Tapachula's bus terminal, we run into another family, a young couple with a toddler from my hometown, Chongqing.
你坐那个重庆走的时候，胆子小一点的男的有。
别说话，穿上。
哦，好冷啊！
好冷。来，哎。
就前面那个黑哥们跟我，就是非常善意的微笑，点点头，我们就知道了，就确认过眼神，我们都是奔着同一个目标去的。
We're now on a bus out of Tapachula. This is the journey that has been worrying the Chinese migrants for days. In the next 4 hours, they will pass through as many as 17 checkpoints, and each and every one of them can turn them away.
你在干嘛？
研究地图，过检查站。第一个还没到呢。
6.7公里看不到。
还有6.7公里。
The Chongqing couple had been turned away at a checkpoint just yesterday, and they're visibly more anxious than the rest of the group.
又是钱了，回来了又是钱了。
But with a bit of luck, the bus drives through the first 2 checkpoints without stopping.
I don't think it's stopping.
But luck could only carry them and us so far.
I'm from Hong Kong. I have visa. Yes, visa. 还有200块钱。我不给你，他帮我掏。你给他看你的美国。
2 police officers who just came onto the bus pretending to be a security check, but very obviously they were trying to pick out passengers by their skin color. Anyone that looks Asian or African, they will come up and reveal a 200 peso note in their hand, asking for bribes.
Half an hour later, the bus stops again, this time at an immigration checkpoint.
对他开我给他俩200不够，然后就把我身上收了，收了没钱，没钱他也没办法，他很恼火，包里我们还有预备了400块钱，就都给他，那就更好跟我的预爱一样，我预爱是预备了1200。
冲关是什么意思？
大家一起结在一起，游行队伍，冲关卡。
法不责众嘛，中国有句话叫法不责众。
我们不在乎他冲不冲，我们在乎，因为这件事情他的关更紧，是这个问题。快接近了，我就怕功亏一篑，我就像怕小贾一样，我们在大巴车上被他留下。
She's talking about Ja, the cook who made us dinner in Tapachula 2 days ago. He was on a bus an hour behind the group yesterday, but now it seems he never made it.
我们今天买完摩托车了，明天早上6点钟启程，骑摩托冲就是肉检查站。
God. And he's now got this crazy plan. He's bought a motorbike. And he would try to ride the motorbike tomorrow morning around the checkpoints and make his way out of Tapachula.
全部搞起来。
这里多少钱
刚才你这里是2000吧？这里放了多少
？1000。
1000，这里2000，再把那些有没有不要地方藏 ？OK。哎，就放你那个包里嘛。
哪个包里啊？
就放这个包里嘛。
After a brief overnight stay in Arriaga, the migrants set out again. Last night's bus journey went well, so the group is getting more ambitious. Their goal this time is to reach Mexico City, some 900 kilometers away. At the bus terminal, we encounter more Chinese migrants.
你口音听着像上海人。
对。
上海这种一线城市的怎么都来了？
因为美国没有移动嘛。我也想到俄罗斯呢，我看有引交易的时候，中国关系好。然后我一个朋友在上海做金融的，他直接挪了客户资产2000万吧，直接在美国也在美国了。啊，兄弟有事吗？啊，你看我家的小孩都这样，赶紧过来吧。啊。
最后一个，拜拜。
拜拜。
From here to Mexico City, it'll be a 20-hour bus ride, if we reach it at all. Our security advisors insisted that we cannot ride along with the Chinese migrants anymore because the bus will travel through cartel territories where different factions are actively battling for control. They say anything could happen. Robbery, kidnapping, rape, assault. The road ahead will be nothing like what they've experienced so far.
我们晚上被赶下车了，现在等于是不该走夜路，我们就在那个检查站旁边。
None of the Chinese migrants made it to Mexico City. Just a few hours into the journey, they were all pulled off the bus. Early in the morning, I try to retrace their steps.
Chinese guy by the roadside that we saw last night at the bus stop. Now I've spotted about 5 or 6 Chinese people. That's the dad with the baby. That's them. There they are.
Can't stop at the bridge, it's too dangerous.
We cannot stop here? That's fine, just go. Yeah. Did you get a shot of them? I can go back of the car.
Swing back.
Yeah, we'll swing back. Yeah. And the situation here is we cannot get out of the car. We cannot offer them any assistance because Mexico, along with the U.S., makes it a crime for anyone to give them any help at all. That leaves the only people who's willing to give them a ride along this route, the smugglers. Oh, I see them now.
As we reapproach the Chinese migrants, we pick up a tail.
You got a vehicle behind you.
A red Nissan, which pulls ahead of us for a bit and rejoins us only a few hundred meters down the road. Mexico is the world's most dangerous country for journalists. In 2022, 13 news workers were killed for doing their job. Our fixer Benjamin insists that we drive out of the area. And after this maneuver, we lose the Chinese group again.
我们早上开车过，有看到你们，但是后来有黑帮跟踪我们，我们就停了一下。现在路上就没有再看到你们了。你们走到哪里了？走到哪里了？发个定位给我好吗？
我们昨天是真正的露宿 街头。
不是街头，野外。
野外。
野外待了4个小时。
那风吹着，很辛苦，全是沙子。
那头露水一帮人，我们找交钱很平安，他们为啥？就是相当于等于是，你交了钱，他很感谢，他给你提供保护嘛，他这个很有秩序，一直有的。有人专门讲水站，等于是相当于是他们
一条龙服务。
一条龙服务。
花多少钱？1800。
不是1800就2000，还没算账。
I'm puzzled as to why immigration will stop them but not detain or deport them. Then I recall a conversation I had some days ago with a mysterious Chinese man in Tapachula.
我奶奶是香港人，以前我是尖沙咀的，我一点就是要求就不要露脸。
He claims to be a business owner in Mexico and has helped a lot of Chinese migrants.
离天堂太远，离美国太近，就是这样的用语嘛。现在很严，几乎上车都被抓。为什么会越来越严？跟黑帮给上面的压力是有的，他才能把生意往那边走，不然大家随便走，对不对
？After catching up on some sleep, the migrants decide to go again.
已经开始7上8下了。
7上8下干嘛？
大铁回嘛，铁回，在原地还好，铁回来了就麻烦了，就容易很包了。
包有个很大的目的，就是说，他实际上他就是利用你的焦虑。
人这样走，我觉得我会走到那个心很痛。唉。
不要那个，没关系的。
好想直接到墙头。
你好想直接到墙边啊？没关系的啦，迟早会到的。我觉得共产党真好，特别怀念他。像这样的，这样的明抢都特别有那个屈辱感。
这么多国家就是中国最安全了，哪一个国家晚上12点还可以女生一个人下楼的，也就中国了。那是。
我妈妈被爸爸气死了，她准备想要回南洛阳，她现在在为别人打买票呢。
怎么吵架的？干嘛？什么事吵架？
我也不知道，可是现在已经没法控制他们了，因为他们现在已经开始分开了。
他们不会分开。
妈妈，我们想回高校去。
不会，你放心好了，怎么可能嘛？
那个是气话。
他们不会分开，因为他们很爱你，很爱家，很爱爸爸，妈妈也很爱爸爸，爸爸也很爱妈妈，才不会。
要打针吗？发现都有阴影。
After waving the Chinese migrants goodbye for a second time in 2 days, we drive through the state of Oaxaca to catch a flight to Tijuana, 2,700 kilometers away. The migrants are traveling by bus a few hundred kilometers at a time, a journey that would take them days. Just as we land, we hear bad news.
他们被移民局抓了。你们在哪里被抓了？现在是转移你们去哪？转移你们去哪？
A week ago in Tapachula, I had visited an NGO to learn a bit more about Mexico's migrant detention system. What happens after they get detained? How long do they have to spend inside?
For asylum seekers, this is permitted for 60 days.
They can be detained up to 60 days.
The detention system in Mexico have all the conditions to say it is a torturing environment. We document physical violence, psychological violence. Everybody has one before and after face the detention system in Mexico.
Mexico's migrant detention system has been notorious for a long time, but it came to a boiling point in March 2023 when migrants in a detention center started a fire as a protest. The guards walked off, allowing the fire to get out of control and eventually kill 40 migrants trapped in their cells. Tijuana is Mexico's second largest city. It sits on a border with the US, adjacent to San Diego in California. The city's most prominent feature, the border wall. On the Mexican side, the wall has become a major attraction.
About 100 meters into the water, the wall just ends. I don't know why they didn't think migrants could simply swim around it. The water is rough, but desperate people do desperate things, right?
In fact, migrants try crossing the wall here and elsewhere all the time, and some die trying. At a small memorial site, a white cross is erected for each soul lost crossing the wall. Before this recent surge in migrant numbers, statistics reveal that one migrant dies every day trying to reach America.
11 años ayudé a la gente a cruzar para el otro lado. Yo me llevaba 20 diarios. Y trabajaba nada más de lunes a viernes. Cruces ahorita lo está controlando la mafia y que están divididos porque está el cartel de Sinaloa, están los Arellano y están los Jalisco Nueva Generación. Se juega la vida al venirse para acá y querer cruzar para el otro lado. Cuando ellos cruzan solos tienen el riesgo de que ya sea que se topen con algún animal, se pierdan o otra de las cosas es que los maten.
We've been in Tijuana for 2 days and have not heard from the family since their detention. I sent them messages on WhatsApp, but none have been picked up. Mexican immigration only gave us 2 weeks to be in the country, and our time in Mexico has come to an end. We leave Tijuana to enter California. Once in the US, I head to Fat Mending Plaza in Monterey Park. It's a first stop for many new migrants.
来了半年多了，快1年了。国内赚的钱不多，来这边想多挣点钱嘛。
结果呢？
结果钱没挣到，挨了一半子。
跟国内工作相比呢，这边更难吗？这种事情
更难。
后悔吗？
后悔也没用啊，后悔跑回去更加打脸了，是不是？
对呀。
你什么时候来的？
我昨天从移民局出来的。
身上还有钱吗？现在？
不多，就1-2万美金。
之前不知道这边工作那么难找。
知道，但是过来有希望啊，在国内是没希望的。
现在还是这么觉得。
对，如果是说美国没希望的话，全世界人民都不会往这里来了。
So all over the square, there are just these men hanging around in groups. And it seems like they're pretty used to this already. It doesn't seem like anyone's in a rush to go anywhere. 你1年多之前那个时候好找工作吗？
那时候好找，1年前我来的时候，那个就是干装修小工哈，都给他150、180的，管吃管住。现在呢，压价都压到小工都压到100，现在。
哦，压了这么多。
压到100、120的都，你不干还有别人干。
It's been 4 days since I last heard from the family, and finally I hear news of their release.
哎，姐，哎，你们怎么样了？
我们在宾馆里休息，反正没办法了嘛，就每条路都堵得死死的，也没办法了。
啊，吵架了，中间？
吵架了，我们这几天天天吵了好了吵。
主要的分歧是什么？
分歧是我要包，他不包。一想到钱，一包都要10几万，他又舍不得。然后他觉得要自己传，结果嘛，可能现在传好像每一条路都传不通。这不包，当时我就拎着鞋子就往他身上砸，我气死了。
We are out of room. And it's not if people will be sleeping on the streets, it's when.
Exactly 4 weeks after we met in Quito, Ecuador, Auntie Lan is the first in a group to reach the U.S.
跟想象的不一样，
怎么不一样？
有点脏，地方有点脏，看起来条件不怎么样。
感觉这像美国吗？
不像，像没有走出中国一样。
喂，你好，你那里有床位吗？有。在哪里？我一个人。
我在这里啊，我在这里。我累，也是剩口饭吃。
放到这里。不是历尽千辛万苦你就能够在美国有立足之地的，你到了这里才是重新开始的，刚刚开始的1%嘛，对吧？像那打游戏一样，这第一关还没过呢，有的人路上都已经感觉好苦啊，对吧？这里面
路上确实是，
而且还是老话，赚钱不出力，出力不赚钱。真的，你卖苦力的永远是底层，就是没有用。
那我们今天先学习一下我们的词汇部分，仓库。Warehouse， 送货 Deliver， 订单 Purchase order， 发货 Shipping，
Uncle 13, another member of the group, also arrives in California. After being deported to Guatemala, he paid a smuggler to cross Mexico.
哎，你好，那个家庭旅馆是吧？你现在还有床位吗？
现在没有了。
满了。啊，好。
你再大一点。
哎，你好，那家庭旅馆是吧？
什么时候你吃？
你家现在还有床位吗？
刚才没有了，今天。
满了是吧？
哎，
好。
回去补上好。
好，他这个家也没有。
怪死了，生意那么好吗？
对呀，现在多少人啊？现在人特别多。
这时候单间了，连床位都没有。妈的，这也太惨了。全部都关门，你想找吃的，找个什么地方都不容易。他们习惯了这些地方。在国内，你随时24小时，你想去哪里住，它都有地方住；你想吃东西，随时都有地方吃东西。哎，这里就感觉是9点钟一过，就感觉像世界末日一样，那找不到人。还没习惯。
The dozens of migrants we've met on the journey have different reasons for leaving China, and not all have a strong claim for asylum. Just as I wonder how they manage their applications, someone clearly mistaking me for a new arrival inadvertently reveals a secret.
比如说你要发表一篇文章，我对中国社会的看法署上起名，移民局是会让你留下的证据。我不能，因为我发表这篇文章拿报纸去，我发表这篇文章，我回去会被破坏。基本上发现它很便宜，因为它这个报纸发行量不大，华人看到的不是特别普遍。如果特别普遍，你还怕张扬到中国去，不是？你要它不普遍，他不知道。
这个成功过吗？跟这儿发文章避火？
当然有成功的，很多人那您问问律师就知道了。
所以这个
要发行量，
谁办的呀？
大纪元办的，大纪元不行，大纪元报不行，这个报非常厉害，非常大，你也登不起。
那如果要发文章的话，我找谁呢？这个钱给谁？
你要发文章，我也不能说，我给你一个电话号码。
成。
我会找他跟他说一下的。
好的。
你这事别打成气，我叫中国人都知道。你知道，那你等于把自己发出去。你自己瞧瞧。你发表你还大成气了，一家人，对不对
？I'm sorry, but the person you called has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet. Goodbye.
It didn't go through. But it's interesting, right? So asylum seeking is in and of itself a new business in Monterey Park.
这条路，我天，这个。
Jia, having quickly abandoned his plan to ride a motorbike through Mexico, also arrives in Monterey Park.
这有牌吗？迷路。就走在街上看着，感觉真切吗？
不真实，很不真实，而且陌生感特别强。不亲切。现在我的脑子也不清醒，需要停下来思考一下。
就是休息不好还是怎么样？
就是休息不好，基本上没有完整的睡眠。第一天的移民局，一个小房间15平左右，挤30-40个人。
你没有办法躺下来睡觉的。躺
不下，就是人挨人人挤人。比如说能躺下20个，还有15个坐在凳子上，真的感觉到那个时候是犯人。就是那个时候心理落差还是有的，挺难受的。
As Jia and I chat over dinner, I received a panicked message from the Chongqing couple with a toddler son.
打911打不通是吗？你是不是没有美国的电话？你把那个坐标给我，我给你报警。
Hi, this is a sort of a strange story. I'm a journalist making a documentary about some of the migrants crossing the border wall. One couple had just gotten in touch. I think they don't know where they are. They have a 2-year-old child with them. They sent me GPS coordinates, and they've been there since the middle of the day. They have no food, no water, and they don't know what to do.
Cuando ellos cruzan solos, tienen el riesgo de que ya sea que se topen con algún animal, se pierdan, o otra de las cosas es que los maten.
现在看到边境警察了吗？他们有来接你们吗？ I know all these guys have an extraordinarily difficult journey, but I've never been so scared for any one of them. I think this is the closest that they've come to face death, really.
A week after I arrived in California, Mom, Dad, and Lucy finally crossed the border wall. Having exhausted their own funds, they've had to borrow money to pay a smuggler for passage into America.
这里下去对了，向那个左边，向左边。
对我这边啊，跟着我灯光。
这个城市叫什么？我看一眼。
这个莫妮卡 ，Santa Monica Pilar。
这些女的长得真漂亮。
哦，这是赤道，这里是北回归线，就是温哥华，我们就挨着赤道转过来，赤道就是香港，我们这个位置大概比上海可能还要北面一点。OK。
好，瞧瞧。啊！有你拿你拍照，重新再拍一张，太丑了。哇，好美啊，落日，就像脑海里的美国，这样漂亮。
Our country is dying. Our borders open and gushing crime and millions upon millions of illegal aliens pour into our country.
这跟我们老家那个涨潮一样的。
它是属于涨潮了，对吧？
涨潮。
啊。
Within moments of my inauguration, we will begin the largest domestic deportation operation in America.
该好不好？哇！高楼大厦耶！要是我能在这里面上班就好了。
The increasing number of Chinese citizens that are leaving the country try to reach America. The stats is really staggering. Coming again. Coming again. Our plan has always been that we would fly to Ecuador and then we would start to travel with them by land into Colombia. And then from Colombia, through the Darien Gap, we would enter Panama. And then the idea was to then pick it up from Mexico, see how they make across that sort of final step, the most difficult step, in order to reach the US. Now I've spotted about 5 or 6 Chinese people. That's the dad with the baby. That's them. There they are.
Dance off the bridge is too dangerous, please.
We cannot stop here. Did you get a shot of them?
It's an area that economy is built on the trafficking of migrants, and they are very sensitive of having their operations exposed.
got a big behind you.
I never experienced danger in any of my previous productions before.
We felt like there's always people watching us wherever we go, and we need to be more careful with what we're doing in the public.
This is all private land, by the way, but not to worry about.
To be honest, when I saw the brief of this documentary, I had a feeling that it's not going to happen because there was so much unknowns.
They're just right there. I'm gonna have to admit that I probably spend an embarrassing amount of time each day on Chinese short video apps. From mid to late 2022, I started seeing these videos of Chinese people crossing what appears to be a dense tropical jungle alongside with a vast number of South Americans. They hashtagged it either 走线 or walk the line, and that really piqued my interest.
过来，好，儿子，到美国了，然后我们去找警察吧。
I think what fundamentally changed about China over the past few years, it's no longer that rising optimistic country and the population.
你们是为什么来？
在中国太卷了，所以来到美国寻找自由了。
And I think the way we did it, because we travel with them, we were able to capture all of these conflicts and emotions and the change of minds in real time. In that aspect, I think you do have a more realistic portrayal of what the journey is like. There has not been existing sort of reports about it to an extent that you will find on any other issue. But to the extent that it wasn't so difficult for us is because I have access to the same social media apps that they use.
我们现在坐这个船，现在6点，等一下都进入雨林了，全是泥巴路，非常危险，非常危险。
We were able to sort of access this information the same way the migrants would.
我不知道走了10几个小时，好像11个小时，没有办法，真的走不动。
After learning about how dangerous the trip is, how concerned about safety were you?
Oh no, I just thought it was super exciting. There are people who run towards the fire and the people who run away from it, right? All of us chose to do what we do. We're the type of people who would run towards it.
You're okay with being filmed?
It's on now.
Okay.
My team leader called me and said, Sean, there's a project that is happening in South America. But he said, before you say yes, I'm going to send you some clips. Look at it and tell me if you're going to say yes tomorrow. So I went home, and these were clips on the Darien Gap. People crossing, and it was pretty horrifying, you know, people dying. There's like dead bodies and snakes.
When I thought about South America, Narcos from Netflix came to mind.
Straight away in my head, it's like cartel, drug lord, you know.
你们是为什么来？在中国太卷了，所以来到美国寻找自由了。
When I thought about South America, Narcos from Netflix came to mind. Straight away in my head, it's like cartel, drug lord, you know.
你们是为什么来？在中国太卷了，所以来到美国寻找自由了。
Drug lord.
I very quickly read up on it. And the first things that came up on my newsfeed were the ongoing political instability problems in Ecuador. There was a political assassination. There were car bombs that went off in the capital. And then reality really came crashing in, like, wow, this is no joke, you know, this is narcos in real life.
And it is true to an extent, there's a lot of crime there. Kidnapping, murder, robbery.
But at the same time, it's interesting.
I never experienced danger in any of my my previous productions before.
I couldn't say no to an adventure of a lifetime, and the next day I said yes.
My name's Adnan Nazar. I'm the security consultant for the trip that we did for Walk the Line. So I was a military medic in the British Army for 11 years. During that time, I had 4 operational tours, Bosnia, Kosovo, and I was a platoon commander for 2 tours of Iraq. Suspicious behaviour. You know, a lot of the times when I was working in Iraq, somebody would step forward and they would throw a grenade. The decision was made that I would come in at the very beginning, starting with pre-deployment training here in country, teaching the team a little bit about jungle survival, how to manage yourself, what kit and equipment to take. Routes had to be approved, security background checks on people working with us.
I was told the porters can only take 25.
What happens if they run off? Okay, what happens if our porters pull out?
It was a lot to take in.
Day from A.
And it was a bit overwhelming. He was talking about things like what to do if you get kidnapped, what to do when you meet someone with poor gun discipline. It's like, what? Throughout the training, in my mind, I was just like, what am I getting myself into?
And when we're tightening it, it's going to come underneath, okay? So my main concern was to deliver the jungle aspect. We were going to have a 5-day journey through the Darien Gap.
Take it slow.
Yeah, nice and slow.
Slow.
Feet up. So it's an extra layer for you at night.
So things like how to set up your tent. Are you going to set it up in an area that could be a flash flood? First aid, you know, what happens if the security guy gets hurt? It's activated, it will ping and send a signal where we are. And if we have an emergency, we've got an SOS button to let them know we need a bit of support.
From our editor-in-chief, he said that his #1 priority is our safety.
I'm in a good space, there's security, there's a company, people are watching over me.
It was a relief, really, to know that we could at least offload some of the burdens and focus more on our work.
You've got a lot of cartel-controlled areas. A lot of drugs are moved through those areas. So banditry, you know, was a big one. Everything you have and you see in front of you is kit and equipment you need. There's no luxury items in there.
We try to bring more batteries since we can't charge the batteries in the jungle. And for me, I try to minimize my equipment, like bring a smaller mixers and a smaller boom pole.
Yeah, I have to fine-tune my bag. Okay, yeah.
I have to have all the equipment on me all the time. So it all had to fit into a backpack.
So Sean had a good idea before we left for our trip, which is to go for practice hikes together as a team. And in urban Singapore, the closest thing we could find was MacRitchie Reservoir.
So we loaded our bags with the kind of the same weight what we're going to carry on those days. We did some pieces to camera, film us walking.
Just to do some test shots, sort of have a taste of what it would be like in the Darien Gap.
I don't like walking like long distance, you know, to be honest. We hiked through the MacRitchie and all the way, I think, to Bukit Timah Hill. Oh, I think it's very shack. Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Not bad. I cannot imagine if there's 4 days to go.
Are you going to sleep on a hammock?
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to have a good team with me, very proactive, excited about the trip, but also hungry for the knowledge and training to prepare for what lay ahead.
This is what they call nice weather.
It's good, isn't it?
It was interesting how the schedule was planned. We started in San Diego, which was actually the end of the journey. This is the first time I've seen the border. It was really intimidating. It was about 20, 30 feet high steel wall. So you will see miles and miles of wall. Then there will be a small gap.
Coming again. People are coming through.
We saw a group of people crossing the wall right in front of us. And to our surprise, it was pretty easy for them to cross, you know? Like, there's a small opening, so everyone just like walk through it and you made it. You're in the US now.
China!
That was also the first time we came into direct contact with the Chinese migrants who's just made it, and to hear them tell their stories, and they were so open and honest about it.
No jackets, no hoodies.
It's okay.
No, it's a jacket, is it?
杰克不行，厚的外套不行，厚的外套不行。
I think I got very, very emotional afterwards, particularly because of this migrant. And this guy who was just wearing nothing inside but a puffer jacket on the outside, and he was holding the passport in front of him. And the Border Patrol officer was taking a photo. And I just felt in that moment what was going across his mind. Was this humiliation really worth it? What put you in this place that sort of gave me a perspective I didn't have before, that they're all somebody's mom, dad, daughter, son, siblings. And I think that, again, goes to challenge my idea of what I thought I'd know about my country and my people. What has to happen for these people to be here, to be willing to go through this?
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to be the first to welcome you to Quito, Ecuador. The local time here is approximately 1:07.
Why Ecuador is because that's really the only country in the Americas that allows Chinese passport holders to enter visa-free. So that had to be their starting point, and then they sort of make it step by step towards the US. So our plan has always been that we would fly to Ecuador cold without knowing anyone. Just being able to identify key locations. And we try to meet them there, talk to them, try to sign up for the idea.
Paul was in charge of the local security, and he just went on and on about all the bad things that happened.
Ecuador is mainly just go through drug country. You always hear very early in the morning, very late, that someone got kidnapped. It's not that safe.
But when you looked around, it looked like any other city. That's when I realized, okay, I have to cannot let my guard down.
We've just seen in the news recently how things changed very quickly there. The country literally went from being peaceful to like a coup was going on overnight. Dynamics change very, very quickly.
So the plan was for me and Wei to check in at the Chinese guest house and stay there for the duration of our time in Quito.
The owner was incredibly generous for no good reason at all. I hadn't met her. I just called her on the phone and she said, hey, if you want to come hang out and talk to people, approach them, And if they're willing to be filmed, it's not my business to stop you. So Jonathan and I moved to the guest house.
As soon as we checked in and the people in the guest house knew that we were journalists, people were tense. They were like, why are they journalists here? It's not lawful what they're doing. But what Weitu did, which I thought was ingenious, was on my trip up to Quito, she told me to get barbecue sliced pork, also known as bakwa, as gifts. And as soon as I brought out the bakwa, it was like we were their long-lost family and friends. They were like, oh yes, bakwa! Talk to me, what do you need? And immediately people opened up like that.
It's not people are easy to buy off, but people appreciate a little bit of warmth and generosity from a stranger.
Just on that first night alone, she managed to get 4 people on board to be on our show. The profiles that opened up to us, one was a chef.
看到鸟没？来上来了，来上飞，你看，这看到没？那是我那飞的。啥给我钱不给我挣啥，干啥？你啥都行，你炒这也行，你说开这也行，你说光你只要你钱多，你炒哪那么都干，真的。
多少钱你才满意
？1万块钱。
1万美金呢？
对呀。
1个月。
1万美金，你知道多高吗？
他是开大货车。
对对，我看网上就像你这个飞呢，我也看了。
本地
开大货的，好像是开大货车的。
人本地大学毕业那些职位也没有你那么高。
He just had this idea, somebody must have told him if you become a truck driver, it's $10,000 US. In the US, that was why he was making the trip. It does give you this unsettling feeling that a lot of them were getting into something they didn't understand, they will later come to regret.
Things were changing constantly. So we end up in a bus interchange and they were saying you need a permit, but we are already there. So what do? I just hope for the best and keep my equipment simple, kind of act like a tourist and film them. It's odd, it's 2 Chinese profiles and an Indian guy following them. I'm hoping they think I'm some YouTuber following them.
When they got to the bus station, our crew joined the family on the coach and I followed in a minibus. So once that journey started, I was very, very surprised to see how fast these coaches were travelling. And we're not talking about a straight motorway. These were mountainous roads with sharp bends, with large drops. The coach that we were following were taking these turnings at phenomenal speeds, and you could see the lean on these coaches. We were struggling to keep up. But I was thinking then, do I make the decision to pull out in front of the coach, stop the coach, remove my team, or is this just how fast all the coaches travel? So once we got to the Ecuador-Colombian border crossing, there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of transactions taking place.
Our profiles, they got through the border in about 5 minutes. All they had to do was buy a ticket from a smuggler, and he brought them across and they managed to get a cab. So for us, we obviously had to cross through legal means. The border guards have never heard of the Singaporean passport because I don't imagine many Singaporeans making that land crossing between Ecuador and Colombia.
Me and Fatli got holed up for nearly about 2 hours because they had issues with our names. Then they brought superiors and other immigration officers down.
Like taking our thumbprint and also like being a scan of our people, like that never happened to me before. Pretty intense actually.
After we crossed the border into Colombia, Sean, the cameraman, myself, and our two profiles jumped into a cab to take us to Pasto, which is the closest airport, which would then fly us to the north of Colombia for the next leg of our journey. On the way to Pasto, the taxi just veered off into a gated compound. At that point, I was still trying to get a 3G signal on my phone. So I couldn't even share my location with Nas, our security advisor. And the taxi driver gestured to us that he needed me to take our passports and followed him into the building. So remember, this is the point where we had lost contact with the rest of the team. They had no GPS coordinates of where we were, and all we could do was go with the flow. When I was walking into the building, my mind was just racing. Am I going to be detained here? Shan and the profile's going to be okay? We went up the flight of stairs. They took our passports, entered our information, asked for some money, which we had no choice but to give. And then the person handed the taxi driver a slip of paper.
I was pretty worried. I was hoping Jonathan comes out, and he came out, after about 10 minutes. And he said, okay, let's go. So I actually don't even know why we were there, what was happening. So it was some kind of a permission to drive through the city. But the way it happened, it was pretty scary.
We got incredibly worried after that one day of shoot with Uncle Wang and Auntie Lan on their trip from Quito to Pasto because they were so quiet. They said nothing. But at the transit airport, Bogota airport, we met this family from China at Chengdu. Mom, dad, Lucy. In a way, they're quite different from the other migrants. They're extremely warm, chatty, outgoing people. You don't get a lot of these people in China. And they're extremely trusting people. They open up in no time.
OK， 好吧。对，我尊重你的选择嘛。我也是来个不是我飞。No, wife number one, number two. Kiddo.
They have this beautiful relationship between the two parents that evolved over time, and then gradually they took over the show. They became our main profiles, and they really just carried it all the way through. Standing on the pier.
All right.
When we were on the bus to Nicaragua after the flight, the fixer who has access to the Darien Gap, and he just left a voice message.
Carlos has just left me a message and said the guy who runs the area has told his contact that he doesn't want to see any journalist on any route. Not Querétaro, not Cartagena, not Akandi.
By that time, I had a crew of 8 people traveling halfway around the world.
And he called me just to ask whether he should still turn up. I've told him to come anyway.
You still go ahead
Just
with
proceed
the
as normal.
interviews? Okay.
I should at least get him to Nicaragua, get him to go see these people in person and see if, we could still stand a chance. So it was, it was a bit of a shock. So Nicaragua really is the jump-off point for the migrants in order to enter the Darien. They want to be rested, they want to be mentally prepared, and then they need to buy a lot of stuff for that jungle crossing.
帐篷要不要马上买了？要买，帐篷要买，在这里。
So a lot of the shops were dedicated to selling things that the migrants would need in the Darien Gap. Portable stoves, tents, tarps, hiking boots, the sulfur powder that you're supposed to put around your tent to prevent snakes from entering.
买巧克力。
They go to a shop, they buy food, and the next minute they cross over, they are buying some gear.
It was a very chaotic moment for us. We were constantly on the move.
It was pretty tough for me. At this point, there was only me as one main cameraman, and I had to get the producer, Jonathan, he had to jump in and help me get shots. So everybody had to be hands on deck.
哎，先去取钱。你小妹不安全不安全，我们先去钱取来，一起把他送回去。就这里取，就对面。
For me, I have to carry my boom, and we're definitely attracting attention.
It's an area that economy is built on the trafficking of migrants. It's a lot of money brought into that area, and they are very sensitive of having their operations exposed. We'd be walking through an area, you'd see a male, 20 years old, up to about 40 years old. They'd be straight onto their phones, looking at us, pointing, sending feedback to whoever their bosses are. We stopped at one point, didn't we, and we had a little chat and say, we've got to lower our profile. We're standing out, which you're going to with a boom mic and other bits of equipment. We had to distance ourselves from the families as well, in the sense that we were jeopardizing their opportunity to get transport.
No, I'm having a shot here, please. Wait.
And then I looked at what we have filmed so far, and I was confident we got a story here. We just have to work around, and we sat down with the producer and I said, let's keep going. Let's try to catch them on the other side.
We flew to Panama on the sort of early next day in the morning, and I didn't. By that point, I got over the emotional part of it, the worry and anxiety. Partly also because it took so long. The family was making the trip so quickly. I knew even if we went in, we were never caught up. Wei. 明天我们是先坐那个独木舟到达那个公路边。那我们明天见哈。
We immediately made plans to fly to Panama City and drive down to the border with the Darien province.
So, the tricky thing about Panama is that you need a permit to access what they call migrant reception centers at the exit of the Darien. The net result was, in the end, we didn't have the permit. We waited for days, we were hoping for it, we didn't have it, and then that was that.
And so the best we could do after talking to the locals was to send myself, our fixer, and one security advisor on a long boat from Puerto Limon, which is where the migrants would end their Darien Gap journey, upriver, as far as the radio could get signal with base at the port.
Coming.
Migrants. The second boat is time for that.
The boats are coming in now.
Third is Chinese. Fourth one coming now. Stand by. There's Chinese as well. Our family is not.
And suddenly I heard, 谢凤红, 谢凤红, which is my Chinese name. And the last time I heard that name was in secondary school. And I zoomed in and it was the profile. It was one of the most surreal experiences.
Fourth boat is our family.
They're shouting my name.
Yeah. Fourth boat is our family.
Which one?
Repeat, the fourth boat is our family.
There was like a 15 minutes gap. So the moment he saw them, he signaled me. So that's when I took off the drone, tried to catch them coming in. These boats were really fast. So by the time I'm landing the drone, the boats were already in the jetty. I gave the controller to Nas, took my camera, ran to the area where they were coming off, and with Wedu, we catch them coming off the boat.
That was an exhilarating moment, really it was. Like, seeing all of them make the trip safe and sound. And that was the first time we saw them after about a week. And I was worried about how they were coping, whether they were healthy and this. But the first thing they said to us was, where we brought you sunglasses. And it just speaks volumes about the type of people they are. They radiate kindness and love and try to really take care of other people. So now the sunglasses rests on my shelf with a little tag, survivor of the Darien Gap.
小心点，小心点。
路上最难的是哪一段？
那个哥伦比亚从卡雷托海滩截至地狱模式。前天晚上，听说失踪了27个人。
27个人失踪了。
失踪了，对。
什么事情失踪？
就是船翻了。
所以你觉得后面的人，你会跟他们讲不要来了？
已经说了。
对，不管为了什么目标，你搭上生命是的。
我在山上看见尸体了。
山上有尸体？你们走的那条线都有尸体啊？
我看见他的用那个帐篷，然后帐篷是这个布，帐篷的布盖身上，就全部盖。
其实这里面有很多幸运成分啊，不幸运的就挂了，幸运的就过去了。
How these migrants recover from that experience, was it the type of resilience that they have is quite amazing. We were in a slightly odd situation that we are not vested in them arriving in the US. That's not what we were doing, and that's not what this documentary is about. We didn't want them to either die in an accident or get mugged or get assaulted or worse. And that's a balance we had to keep to for professional and ethical reasons. A lot of times we couldn't offer them any help, but even though we were in a position to help, it was emotionally difficult. We're to the north of the bridge, where we've been told is safe for us to hang around. South of the bridge is smuggler-controlled territory. In Tapachula, we had an interview with a smuggler who has this sort of door-to-door service. He would take you from southern Mexico to wherever you want to be in the United States for $9,000 US. So we found a hotel which we could go in and set up, and he could go in, and we gave him assurances that his face would not be shown, his voice would be distorted.
Myself and the rest of the team managed to go there, do a full recce.
If he's not willing to be mic'd up, then
I'm sure he will.
he will have to be in there.
I mean, yes, he is.
Okay.
We had a team discussion, team briefing, like who to be in the room and who not to be. So it's only a few of us in the room.
Try and stick to the script as questions are discussed. The code, the word we're going to use from myself and the team, if we need to go, which means stop what you're doing, we're leaving. No more questions or nothing, we're at the door.
Pineapple?
Guacamole.
Nadie dice nada, salimos.
Guacamole.
Guacamole.
Guacamole. Si tú dices, si tú ves algo peligroso en cualquier momento, tú dices guacamole, nadie va a decir nada, vamos a salir.
Okay.
¿Va?
Okay.
Es palabra de seguro. Look, you enter to the door, we enter, you enter to the door, you pass the reception without talking to anyone, you take right, and the first door on the right.
He said, if they don't listen, I have no choice. I beat them up. He said, you must have heard that we rape women. We don't rape women.
Sí han habido ciertos favores, porque a veces hay hombres que quieren sobrepasarse, ellas por sentirse un poco más protegidas, entonces se acercan más a uno y le pueden dar a uno sexo consensuado a cambio de que ellas vayan en un mejor lugar en el carro, que duerman en una habitación solo con mujeres y cosas así, precisamente por eso, para sentirse más protegidas.
And I thought that was heavy. That's just thinking about how already it's such a difficult experience, but specifically for women. It was so difficult for the migrants to get out of Tapachula. They made plans. The plans were frustrated. They were set back. In the end, we decided we're just going to go to northern Mexico, the city called Tijuana, on the border with California, and we will wait. We would just wait for them to arrive. When we flew into Tijuana, the airport, I have a Hong Kong passport, but it says Chinese Hong Kong passport with a Chinese national emblem on it. I didn't need a visa to go to Mexico. It was a domestic flight, but there was passport control. And they were just pulling everybody with a Chinese passport. You go sit there, you go sit there.
Señorita, allá por favor, inside. We go inside first.
So we got pulled into this room, like full of Chinese migrants, and we were told to just sit there, we'll come back to you. And then, of course, they looked at our passports with the visa stamps. They had to let us go. So they had to call us out in front of everybody. And as we were making our way move across the room, everybody was like, which smuggler did you use? How much money did you bring? In Tijuana, what we had hoped to do was to catch the group of migrants we had been following actually crossing the border. No, on my map, it goes all the way. This goes all the way. All right. So then eventually we just decided, why don't we just go stake out there? So our local fixer, Gabby, who was very experienced on that border, went with us.
For example, if they think we are with families, for sure they get mad because they can confuse and think we are trafficking people, families, like a competition.
It's just another kilometer down that way.
My concern on the day was who are going to be coming down these tracks. We'd seen early on in the trip from the other side of the wall, and remembering these people are all armed. Also, it puts us in a vulnerable position as well. Remember, we're on foot. Again, we're not armed.
There's 2 Chinese people there. I already see.
Wait. Let me clear first.
This is it.
And we're going to an area and where we want to covertly film without causing them any reason to panic or to suspect us of exposing their operation. From a security aspect, the decision was made quite early once we got to the wall and the gap where the people actually crossed through, that should anything happen, that we would cross into the American side.
3 more steps. You're in America. And we waited there for about 3-4 hours, really, but no migrants came. A guy rode a motorbike, had a look, left. Somebody drove a SUV, came, had a look, and left. And eventually Gabby said, you know, maybe this is a self-defeating mission, because clearly these people were sent by the smugglers to come and check on us. They're watchers. They know you're here, they can't figure out who you are. That's why they're not sending the migrants across. So Mom, Dad, and Lucy are currently still in Los Angeles. Lucy has enrolled in a local high school. I saw from the photos Mom posted. She got 100 on her maths exam, as you would expect a Chinese child to do. And Mom and Dad are both working. Mom, she was the chef at some sort of ramen restaurant. So Dad mostly takes care of things at home, do the chores, drive Lucy to school. Uncle Wang is working at a Chinese restaurant in Texas. Jia worked as a cook in China, so he's got a job cooking at a barbecue restaurant somewhere in New Jersey. Chef is also cooking. Chef is making good money, you know, because it's a skilled job. He said it's making $6,000 US a month. So he's probably the best paid among the lot. Auntie Lan is working in Texas, I believe. I think fortunately, in the end, bad things didn't happen, because otherwise it would have been so much worse for all of us, emotionally and psychologically.
Definitely an eye-opening for me. It made me more confident. Despite the lack of sleep, rest, we still managed to do our thing as a team.
These migrants who took on this journey are so incredibly resilient, and it made a lot of my problems that I face in my everyday life feel so insignificant.
And the team. I was among really fantastic, amazing crew and, team players.
I enjoyed it. I think we had some good fun off camera. The morale was good. So I learned a bit of English. Everybody's, la. It's going to be good, la.
I think this project was unique and it's a huge undertaking. I just felt it's such a strong story. It reveals so much about the times, and I'm happy about that.